those attacks and of course that firing that's been taking place and being reported, India has no choice but to retaliate. We'll get you details. First, let's get you the headlines. Far across LOC, Indian troops have responded swiftly. This is the fourth straight night of ceasefire violation that's been reported along the line of control. It's the Pakistani army extending its length of ceasefire violation. And Canadians head to poll for the next election starting this morning in Canada. The new government, as far as the Canadian polls are concerned, it could be a very, very close tie between Mark Carney, the current Prime Minister, and Pierre Poilievre. And an SUV rammed into a crowd of hundreds of people in Vancouver's a very crowded street festival. At least 11 people have died, 20 others have been injured after that car rammed, attacking people. The suspect has been named and charged with murder. At least 28 people to 40 people, in fact, have died because of an explosion that took place at that Iran port. Over 1,200 people have been injured. And India and France are set to ink a deal that's going to be coming up today in the afternoon at 12 o'clock. This is a deal to the tune of 63,000 crore rupees in order to get 26 jets. This is India's largest ever fighter jet deal that is going to be inked this afternoon. And Belgium court to hear the fugitive Mehul Choksi's bail plea. This is going to be a three-judge Belgium bench to hear that bail plea. This is the second time that's coming up in court, but India is set to oppose that bail hearing. A very good morning. Let's get your latest, and this is breaking news coming in regard to Pakistan continuing to resort to unprovoked firing that's been taking place now for the fourth consecutive night. Pakistan Army posts are initiating these small arms fire across the line of control in areas opposite to Kupwara and the Poonch districts. Now, the Indian troops have been responding swiftly and also effectively. To know more on this, Shiv joining us from Srinagar. Shiv, take us through the details. This is the fourth consecutive night and, this is absolutely unprovoked. What is Pakistan doing and leaving India no choice but to retaliate?
Well, this is the fourth consecutive night of ceasefire violations since the Pahalgam terrorist attack, which was ordered by the Pakistan deep state. And this night of ceasefire violations that took place last night, the fourth night, constitutes an escalation because for the first three nights, the ceasefire violations were largely concentrated in the Kashmir areas of the line of control north of the Pir Panjal range of mountains which separate, the Kashmir Valley from the Jammu division. But last night, I'm told by my sources in the army that there was, a big escalation. There's a major ceasefire violation south of the Pir Panjal range in Poonch. So that marks a first time and shows that the Pakistan army is not only increasing the intensity of the ceasefire violations, but extending the scope of them to many more Pakistan army posts. You're right when you say that all of these ceasefire violations have been completely unprovoked. It's always the Pakistani side that opens fire first, using mostly medium machine guns and light machine guns. And then India has been responding. So far, no casualties, thankfully. But if the caliber of the weapons goes up, and there's every chance that it actually could, given that this is a clear design by the Pakistan army to escalate things and elevate tensions on the LOC, then expect that there could be casualties perhaps on both sides. Let's hope that doesn't happen on the Indian side. But what is very clear is that this is no one-off. This isn't just one little Pakistan army post, trying to, fire and make a noise on the line of control. This is a multiplicity of Pakistan army posts. I'm told as many as 27 Pakistan army posts along the entire stretch of the line of control, both north and south of the Pir Panjal range, that have been provoking with this fire. It appears to suggest that the Pakistan army's Army's leadership directive is to keep the LOC active, make that one of the the prominent aspects of what's happening post-Pahalgam, and therefore try and distract from everything else that's happening in the Pakistan Army right now. Remember, the Pakistan Army has suffered extensive casualties in Balochistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The Pakistan Army chief has, gone viral for all the wrong reasons across the world for his communal rant, which has lost Pakistan, dignity and allies in different parts of the world. A Pakistan Army colonel had a shameful gesture to make at the Pakistan High Commission in London a couple of days ago. So the Pakistan Army is in a very bleak spotlight right now, and escalating things on the line of control is one of the ways that they're seeking to try and divert attention from those things.
Right, and fortunately, Shiv, no casualties have been reported. We will keep coming back to you for more on this. Now, Canada is heading into polls this Monday morning. The contest will see the parties of Liberal leader Mark Carney as well as Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, as well as NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, and also Yves-François Blanchet, facing off in the 343 ridings, including 5 new electoral districts. The party leaders crisscrossed the country over the weekend in this last sprint to the finish line, spending the final hours of the federal election campaign trying to win over votes and voters. As far as this very tight race is concerned, it is, of course, the Conservative leader Pierre, who started off in British Columbia on Saturday, finishing off, as far as the weekend is concerned, with campaign stops in Ontario, and he campaigned in the Vancouver area as well, including in Surrey, as well as the rally in Delta, where he did not take questions from the media. Here are details of everything you need to know so far.
With the nation at political crossroads and an election that could redefine its future, Canadians are all set to head to the polls to elect which party will lead their government and take the nation forward. On April 28th, Canadians will cast their votes in perhaps the most pivotal election in recent history. With the economy faltering, tension with the US escalating, and the resignation of a former Prime Minister still echoing, the country faces a moment of reckoning. Five main parties are in the race: the Liberal Party, the Conservatives, the New Democratic Party, the Sovereignist Bloc Québécois, and the Green Party. But at the heart of the battle, it's a showdown between the Liberals and the Conservatives. Carney, a former central banker, aims to distance himself from Trudeau's legacy while still advocating for core Liberal policies. But his short stint as Prime Minister leaves his political identity still somewhat undefined. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is capitalizing on nearly a decade of Liberal dissatisfaction. His message is clear and relentless. After 9 years of Liberal rule, it's time for change. Poilievre is channeling voter frustration into momentum, zeroing in on the daily struggles of Canadians, from immigration concerns and rising crime to the crushing cost of living. Adding fuel to the fire is an increasingly hostile trade war with the US. Trump's repeated threats, including calls to make Canada the 51st US state, has intensified tension and turned foreign policy into a central election issue. For India, the Canadian election comes in the shadow of strained ties due to Trudeau's policies that promoted and sheltered Khalistanis. Will a new Prime Minister mean a new chapter in Delhi-Ottawa ties? Remains to be seen. Bureau Report, NDTV World.
Right, we also have my colleague Maha Siddiqui joining us from Vancouver. Very good evening to you, Maha, in Vancouver. It's just a few hours left before, Canada starts to vote. We do know a lot of people have cast their vote already, but it's going to be a very, very close battle. It seems like it's down to between Mark Carney and Pierre.
Turned out to be a two-horse race at the federal level, with the Liberals and the Conservatives largely fighting for power in this election, which is a pivotal election because of the reasons pointed out already in that report. Divya, what we are likely to see tomorrow is 12 hours of polling, the final time when any of the voters can step out and cast their ballots before the counting starts later in the evening. So because this is a huge geographical expanse, there are different time zones. We are expecting that counting and perhaps results will start trickling in first on Tuesday morning for India, as of India time, really, from the East Coast, that is towards Ontario and Quebec, and then move slowly towards British Columbia, where I am. And we are expecting the results to be counted within 5 to 6 hours. Some of the advanced polling that took place, those counts will start 2 hours before polling closes. But the rest of the results, ballots will be counted only after the polls have closed. This is a very close race now. Divya, CBC election tracker is now suggesting that the weighted average of the opinion polls is only showing a 2% lead for the Liberals. They were leading by a sizable margin up a couple of weeks ago, but that gap has now been closed, and both the leaders, that is Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, have put in their best shot in the last few laps of this election campaign, urging voters to come out, cast their ballots specifically to give a majority to either of them, considering that only a person in majority, a prime minister who has a majority, will be able to take on with firmness US President Donald Trump. And that really has been top of the voters' mind towards the end. The trade war with US, the annexation threat from the US is something that has overtaken issues, the domestic issues, which had been making headlines for the last 1 year, which was inflation and the housing crisis. So now a very slim lead that the Liberals have. However, the two major provinces, Ontario and Quebec, that have the largest number of seats in Parliament, almost 200 between the two provinces, 122 from Ontario, 78 from Quebec. These are the two provinces really that the Liberals can hang on to, because they are showing a clear lead in those two provinces, and that could be really a clincher for that party during these elections. But of course, the voters will speak, and they will speak loud and clear tomorrow. 12 hours of voting on Monday for Canada, and this is the last time that the Canadians can vote in this election. The advanced polling, the polling, special polling ballots for students, the special ballots for those who are out of the country are all closed last week, and only on Monday now people can step out and vote.
Right, one of the most consequential elections to be held in years. Let's just also, talk our viewers through the issues at hand and what are the key issues that the voters are facing this time around. Let's listen in.
As Canadians head to polls, the major parties have made their final push to address some key issues. So what are they, and how are they shaping one of the most consequential elections in the country's history? One of the most important issues is the cost of living crisis, something Canada has been grappling with for years. Both the main parties, the Liberals and the Conservatives, have promised tax cuts for people in the lowest tax bracket. While Liberals are offering 1 percentage point cut, their opponents have promised to lower the rate from 15 to 12.75%. The campaigns have hinged on how the next leader would handle the trade crisis with its closest economic ally, the United States. The Conservatives have vowed tax relief for workers affected by the Trump tariffs. On the other hand, the Liberals have said they would help workers and businesses with the money raised by counter tariffs. Another issue affecting millions is skyrocketing home prices. While the Liberals want to create a federal entity that would act as a developer for affordable housing, the Conservatives are aiming to build 2.3 million homes in Canada in the next 5 years. With primarily these issues in mind, Canadians will decide who leads their country through some troubled times. Vishal Vivek's report for NDTV World.
Look, I'm a very different person from Justin Trudeau.
And to know more on this, we have Dean Baxendale, columnist and an expert as far as politics in Canada is concerned. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking with us here on NDTV. We're talking about, the concerns, whether it's economic stability, whether it's the relationship with the United States, the cost of living, the housing affordability, or climate policy. These are the issues that are being faced by the voters today. Take us through what, in your opinion, could be a make or deal for the voter. What do you think he's going to be casting his or her vote on?
Well, thank you very much for having me, first of all. When we look at this year, 2025, in January, the Conservatives had a 20-point plus lead. It looked like it was going to be an easy shoe-in Conservative majority government. Justin Trudeau resigns. Donald Trump had made it to the White House and was inaugurated on the 20th. And now we've seen all hell break loose with respect to Canada, its relationship with the United States. Ultimately, what's at play here is our relationship with China as well at the same time. And now voters are looking at this election as who can stand up to Donald Trump, as opposed to really looking back at the key issues as to why we were looking at throwing the Liberals out in the first place, because they had effectively not taken this country forward, not created the jobs, made things affordable. So now on the agenda, we have Donald Trump and Donald Trump's tariffs, and effectively telling Canadians that they'll annex Canada as the 51st state, which of course has garnered such great support in Canada. And now we are a nation that seems to be very unified in fighting Donald Trump. And unfortunately, he should not be the target. The target should be the bad policies that put us into a position where our nation was being exploited by foreign actors from China, Pakistan, India as well, and the United States.
Right. So, what is being promised by these various parties? We do know that it's a very close battle it's coming down to. But, just compare for us the key issues, whether it comes to, what is it that these parties are promising and what could really be a deal breaker for the voter?
So what we've seen for the first time in almost 3 generations is a movement towards basically 2 parties. The Liberals and the Conservatives, between the 2 of them, are garnering about 80% of the vote. The NDP vote has collapsed. The Quebec vote for the Bloc Québécois has collapsed somewhat as well, therefore opening up an opportunity for the Liberals. But what's at stake now is going back with the Liberals on failed policy for the past decade plus, or the promise of change by Pierre Poilievre and moving the country forward with a new vision that looking at our resources, ensuring that we bring those to market and create new wealth for Canada and putting Canada in its rightful place. We cannot virtue signal to the world as the Liberals would like us to do on the climate change. We need to hold India and China to account for greenhouse gas emissions, but we cannot virtue signal and shut down our industries in this country. We have great resources. We need to bring those forward in a plan. The Conservatives seem to be offering that. Mark Carney has moved to the middle, trying to get the vote from the elderly who always supported the Liberals. And that's what we now have, a clear vote between 2 parties, 2 different visions, one very old and one new.
Right. Thank you so much, Dean Baxendale, for joining us in the run-up to the elections in Canada. A very close watch, a very close battle there. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. Thank you for speaking with us. Now, let's just get you, this is coinciding with the elections. It is the Canadian police that have gone ahead and charged Kaiji Adam Lowe with 8 accounts of second-degree murder after a car that rammed into Vancouver that has resulted in the death of 11 people. Dozens more have been injured when this man drove his SUV into a crowd at the Filipino festival. This is a street festival which gets very, very crowded, and the police say the victims are aged between 5 and 65. The city's mayor has also said a full review has been opened into the event's safety. Maha, my colleague, joining us to get us more on this. Maha Siddiqui, what really happened here? And of course, this is coinciding on the weekend where people were, casting their votes, and this is a very, very crowded festival, the street festival, very, very famous there. What kind of crowd had gathered for this festival? And this has really resulted in the death of 11 people, while many those who have been injured. If you could also get us a health update on those people. So the police have gone ahead and charged this man who took his SUV and just rammed into people who had gathered for this street festival. There were 11 people who died and dozens have been injured when this man just drove his SUV into the crowd who had gathered at the Filipino festival. So this man has now been charged. The police have named the man, they've charged the man, and this really coincides with the elections taking place in Canada. So very shocking news coming out of Canada. Very, very tragic and very sad news. And Israel carried out an airstrike on Beirut's southern suburbs on Sunday after ordering an evacuation of a building that is said was being used by the Iranian-backed group Hezbollah. Now, the attack occurred despite a ceasefire that came into force 5 months ago, which put an end to the conflict between Israel and the military group. Israel has gone on to say that it had targeted that Hezbollah store of precision-guided missiles that posed as a threat to the state of Israel and its civilians. And in Iran, anger is mounting after a massive explosion that took place at a port that killed at least 40 people and injured over 1,000 people. Fire is still burning as toxic smoke engulfs the area, and early reports have suggested improper storing of rocket fuel may have triggered the blast. The president has ordered an investigation, but many Iranians are blaming the government's incompetence, with nearly 80% of Iran's imports routed through the port. Concerns are being raised over the potential storage facilities and the issues that are being faced. Global leaders, including Russia's President Putin, have also offered support as emergency efforts are continuing. And with that, we're slipping to a very short break. Back with a whole lot more on the other side. Stay with us.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news, is here.
From interesting tech startups to industry-leading companies, politics, sports, culture, curry, cricket. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like me, if you too thrive on interesting conversations, this is a show you cannot miss. Watch this space to know more about all matters and all people that make Britain what it is today. Out of Britain, with me, Radhika Iyer.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
You've been nominated several times for the Grammys, but what it's been like the last 25 years? Because, music.
Welcome back. Let's just get you a very crucial deal that's coming up between India and France, and this is a deal of to the tune of 63,000 crore rupees to get 26 Rafale fighter jets from France. That's expected to be signed today in the afternoon at about 12 o'clock, set to dominate the skies from the aircraft carriers INS Vikrant and INS Vikramaditya. These advanced jets will bolster India's maritime power, countering threats in the Indian Ocean. The Rafale is widely considered among the most capable fighters of its class in the world and is only operated presently by the French Navy. And Mehul Choksi's second bail plea is scheduled to be heard in a Belgium court. A three-judge bench will review the arguments, and India is likely to oppose that bail plea that's working closely with the Belgian side for the extradition of the fugitive in connection with the 13,000 crore PNB fraud case. And let's just get you some sports news now. And India has decided to pull out of the Central Asian Volleyball Championship, scheduled to take place in Islamabad. This volleyball championship will be taking place from the 28th of May to the 4th of June. This decision really has come about after the Indian government's cancellation of the NOC, the no objection certificate for the tournament, citing the recent Pahalgam terror attacks. And let's just get you the latest when it comes to the suspect in the person responsible for the jewelry theft of Kim Kardashian. We're talking about the jewelry case plans to take the responsibility. Well, this is, what we're hearing at the moment is that the alleged Grandpa gang is facing a trial over that theft that took place at a hotel. Kim Kardashian to testify against the men accused of that theft, and of course this was a theft that took place in Paris, and the trial is over 9 million worth of jewelry that was stolen from the hotel that Kim Kardashian was staying in. The suspect plans to take responsibility at the trial. Now let's just get you more on this in regard to more news coming in, and that's Greenland and Denmark have agreed to strengthen their ties in response to US President Donald Trump and his interest in taking control of the areas located in the Arctic island. Their leaders have gone on ahead and said after talks in Copenhagen, Greenland's new Prime Minister has landed in the Danish capital over the weekend for a 3-day visit in a display of unity between the mineral-rich island. This is a semi-autonomous Danish territory. And of course, this visit follows months of tension that has been created over Trump's repeated declaration that Greenland should become part of the United States. And with that is a wrap of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions,